throughout the year, you kind of play with different guys, so you have an idea of what works, what doesn't work. So I think when Paul decides to juggle the lines a little bit, it's not anything crazy. I think a lot of when he does make changes, he tries to at least keep two of the guys together and then switch two players that kind of play a similar style and have played with those other guys. So it doesn't make that big of a change. So yeah, in that sense, when you can establish your lines, all four lines, and stick with those, that's nice. But then, throughout the season or throughout playoffs, sometimes things aren't going your way. You switch it up throughout the game and kind of sparks the team a little bit. And then whether you keep it for the next game or you go back to the original one, you're ready for anything. And I think being, part of this league for a while, had different coaches, different line combinations, different situations come up all the time. And you just got to be ready for anything. And like I said, I think a lot of times they're not crazy changes. So they might seem different on TV or for you guys, but for us, it's guys we've played with before in the past. So it doesn't make that big a change where it might take a couple shifts just to tinker a little bit. But after that, I think we're just smooth sailing.
We'll go next to Kelly Moore from CJOB. Go ahead, Kelly.
Thank you, Gregor. Good morning, Paul. I know it was just a small sample size, 2 whatever power plays you want to judge that by, because one was a partial. But what was your initial reaction to the number one unit without Blake? Did it feel like you guys were a little fish out of water type of thing, or were you happier with how it went?
To me, when our unit is playing well, as we're moving the puck, we're not stagnant, we're kind of attacking. I'm talking about our unit, Shipes and JMO and Case, me, Wheels, or Apple, whoever it is. So the first part that we had was, I thought it was bad. I think we were trying to force stuff off the rush. We weren't kind of playing for each other. And then the second part that we had, I thought we simplified a lot more, and we got a lot more chances, and all of a sudden we had 3, 4, 5 shots. And to me, that's simple hockey. And when you overthink it, sometimes you try to overdo it. I think that's when it's slow. It doesn't look that good. And when you just go out there and play, and maybe because it was late in the game, maybe we weren't trying to get too fancy, because I think the last one we had, I think it was 3-2. Might have been 3 minutes left in the game or something like that. So I think because we weren't being too fancy, we're being a lot more direct. I think we got a lot more chances, and that was nice. So, without Wheels there, obviously there's the goal line presence is a little different. But then all of a sudden, what's nice with Shipe having the puck there, he's got so many different options, and whether we keep it on Shipe's side or it goes to Casey's side, he can attack, and that, opens up a lot of lanes for all of us too.
We'll go next to Mike McIntyre from the Winnipeg Free Press. Go ahead, Mike.
Morning, Paul. Just want to ask sort of a bigger picture question about this final month of the season. You guys, after the win last night, you have a 16-point cushion right now on the teams that are outside the playoff line. Does that change the mindset for the last month, that you're not maybe in a scrapping and clawing kind of fight right now? That, could you use that to maybe, whether it's resting some guys or tinkering with some things, all with the mindset of making sure your game is where you want it to be when you get to the playoffs? Yeah, and I think
I think throughout the whole regular season, you're trying to build for playoffs, and obviously wins are the most important thing. And then, we've done a good job early in the season to get kind of, like you said, get a little cushion, and you kind of have, nothing's set in stone yet. So you kind of have an idea of who potentially the top 4 teams are going to be. Maybe a 15 might squeak in there, but they'd have to go on a hot run. So for us, it's more about, when you play different teams, they all play different style, and we know what makes us successful against them. We know what we have to do to be successful, and a lot of that stuff, we have to adapt and be ready to play, because all of a sudden you can't just kind of flip a switch in playoffs. I think, whatever game you have in the regular season, I think you got to keep with that consistency and just play it throughout the playoffs. But sometimes, when you're young, you think you just, you play one play in regular season, you play one way regular season, and playoffs, you kind of flip a switch, but it's not like that at all. I think it's, whatever game you have going to playoffs, I think that's what made you successful throughout the year. And that's what's going to make you successful throughout the playoffs, is knowing how to win, knowing how to score those goals, knowing how to defend, come playoff time. And that's stuff that I think Paul kind of slowly feeds in our minds throughout the game, throughout the season, throughout practices. like you said, and for him, he might tell us something small today, but in the end, it's like a big picture thing where he's looking kind of forward to potentially playoffs.
Go back to Scott Billick from the Sun. Go ahead, Scott.
Hi again, Paul. You've played with Jose Theodore. He's won the Hart Trophy before. Craig Anderson, Brian Elliott, Marc-Andre Fleury's won 3 cups. How does Connor Hellebuck's mentality compare to those guys, or is it different? Or, I mean, goalies are always kind of weird voodoo type thing, but I mean, what do you notice from Connor Hellebuck that's maybe different than or similar to some of the guys you've played with before?
Yeah, I think what's similar with him, with like the really good ones I played with, is I think his attitude. I think he just goes out there and he's having fun, and I don't think he's never complaining. I think he's always kind of looking at himself, and I mean, a lot of times, it's our fault. We give up a lot of grade A chances, but you don't see him complaining about the chances or the back doors, this or that. I think he's more worried about, trying to stop that puck, helping the team win. And if we win and he lets up 5 goals, he's happy. If we win, he lets up 0 goals, he's just as happy. And then if he has a bad game, I think he shrugs it off, and the next day he's right back at it and doesn't let it hang over him. And, when I was here 3-4 years ago, I thought he was kind of getting into that. And I think to me, that's where he's changed the most. It's just his kind of day in, day out attitude, where he's just coming to the rink every day and he's just loose. And you see it in practice, you see it in the games. And, when he's playing like that, he's playing with a lot of confidence. It's makes the game a lot easier for us.
And final question to Kelly Moore from CJOB. Go ahead, Kelly.
Hey, Paul, with the trading deadline coming up, of course, when we go back to 2018, your acquisition came totally out of the blue. Can you give us as much of a peek behind the curtain as you can to what goes into making that decision to waive your no trade clause, to make a move that I don't know if you were expecting to leave St. Louis back then, but how difficult is that for guys that might be in this situation now 3 years later?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice for me having my dad kind of be a sounding board to me, be like a moral compass, and someone who's been through it, talk me through it. Because I think initially when you're young, I mean, I'm still young, but like in this league, when you're even younger, you get emotional and you just want to stay in one spot and you want everything to be easy and you don't want to move, and you don't realize that's not how it is. Life's hard, hockey's hard, everything's hard. And sometimes, you need a change of scenery to kind of wake you up or challenge you a little bit. And so I think for me at the time, when the option came up, it was more about, a chance to win, a chance to kind of rejuvenate my career, have fun again, get back to a winning team. And you realize, change is good for you, and it depends how you take it. Some people have a bad mindset and don't want it, and people have an open mindset, always find the positives in it. And this time of year, it's always tough for anyone. It's easier if you're on a bad team, a really, really, really bad team, and you get traded to a good team, because all of a sudden, you go from your season being over in 4 weeks to having a chance to win the cup. And, I think as anyone, I mean, you just want to have fun when you're working, and I call this work, but for us, this is, we got the best job in the world. We're playing hockey for fun, and we're just enjoying it. And when you're enjoying yourself, you're around the guys are winning, guys are in a competitive atmosphere. That's what you live for, and that's what you want to be part of every day.